Hey, what's up, everybody? BDF 44 coming at you another video. All right, so this is a therapy session, but it's not about anything pressing in my life in any way. I just wanted to say something, and I want people to receive it in a very, very positive way. We got to do the work. We got to do the work. And when I say that, I'm talking about everything. Whatever it may be, you have to put in the work to get it done. But what I'm referring to is the fitness aspects of it, physical workout. I saw a celebrity, I don't remember who it was, not going to mention her name, but she had gotten on IG and posted a picture of her fit body, fit. And she said, I worked hard for this. And in the comment section, they were letting us know that she was referring to how much she had paid the doctors to get all that done. Not everybody can dedicate the time to working out. Not everybody can discipline themselves to start the process. It's very difficult. It's very difficult to stick to it. It's very difficult to get through the processes of not seeing the results as quick as you'd like to and still pushing forward for a long time, because that's a real thing, especially if you don't change your diet. That's a real thing. And it gets hard for people. So I get it. But at the end of the day, I just think that we're making it real easy for those of us who don't want us to be very healthy or don't have any interest in us being very healthy, but want to make themselves very rich. Make those people very happy, because they could continue to sell us bull crap that doesn't fill us up with good health, and then they can make us think that we're healthy or feel as if we're getting the results of being healthy while continuing to do the same stuff that doesn't make us healthy. You didn't fix your metabolism. You didn't fix your heart health. You didn't fix your cholesterol health, any of that. All you did was give money to a doctor for him to cut you up and do surgery on you that's unnecessary. That's literally all you did. And so for me, it's like, if we're talking about health and we're trying to survive, we're trying to enjoy the quality of our lives, y'all got to stop thinking that you've made yourself healthy by doing this. You got to understand that there's ways to live better so that you can stay healthy. And maybe I'm not the greatest example of that. But the point is that I too have to do the work. The work has to be done. It's a lot of folks who run around just want to look as if they've done the work. They'll pay somebody $100,000 to make it look like they did the work, but the work ain't done. The work ain't done. You paid your money, but the work ain't done. You look that way, but only for a time. Why? Because you're going to ruin all that by not making the changes necessary to keep it looking the way that it is. It's those habits that are going to keep you looking that way when you actually build yourself up to look that way for real. It's going to allow you to keep with those habits that allow that to be the case. You ain't got to spend a single dollar for that. And you're making it easy on yourself by not establishing those habits, but desiring to look that way. Seeing yourself that way and then not establishing those habits do not go together. They don't. It screws up your psychology altogether, because then you start thinking, like I said, that you're healthy. You start thinking that you can look this way without doing the work, and then it starts, as I said, to eat away at you. You start to gain the weight back because you haven't developed any habits that work out. You haven't developed any eating habits that make you healthier. So you're just lying to yourself physically, looking at yourself in the mirror, saying you are something that you're actually not represented on the inside. And then a lot of times, as we know, and we talked about, a lot of times when you do like lipo and stuff like that, depending on the doctors may not all be all that great. We talked about how it is when you go down to different places, down South America, stuff like that. We hear the horror stories. It happens, man. Trying to get different augmentations and lipos and things like that. If you want to look a certain way, you want to look a certain way. We see people do all kinds of things with their bodies, from tattoos to piercings to further into the game. So some people want to look different. Some people do not want to look what I would say looks normal or proportionate. Maybe they do want to have different extensions that make them look exaggerated in certain ways. That's a preference. But for those who are wrapped up in a culture that says you need to be skinny, or that you need to keep up with these IG models, or that you need to be thick when your body don't do that, or you need to be skinny when your body don't do that, or that you need to have a six-pack when you don't want to eat like that, and you like to drink a lot of beer, and you like to sit and play video games without doing any exercise. You're just giving money to doctors. You're giving them money to continue to do this, and it's not necessarily to your benefit. In fact, it's the opposite. I think when one wants to be healthy, like physically healthy, that fit healthy, it starts here first. Here. And the commitment to put in the work that you can put in for as long as forever. Because basically, if you're going to work out and you're really thinking about fitness, then you understand it doesn't have an end date. What has an end date is your body. That's what it comes down to. The fitness itself is like brushing your teeth. If you can brush your teeth 1,000 times in a row, if you stop and never do it again, your teeth are going to end up rotting out of your mouth. You got to keep that going. Same thing with working out. Same exact thing. You got to keep it going, especially if you're not going to eat right. You're always working against your eating habits. If you like grease, if you like a lot of sugar, if you don't like to eat vegetables and fruits, then chances are you're going to need to work out double time to fight off what it is you're putting in. That's what I came to understand. I worked out twice as hard as I work out now when I was in my 20s, but could never get a six-pack because I was constantly putting bad food on top of the workouts. Never seeing the results because for every step forward, a step back. Every step forward, step back. Now I understand that if I just dwindle my diet to something that is considered healthy and then put in that same half of the work even, I'm going to look the way I wanted to look back then. And if I put in the full work, I'm going to shred out. It's the diet, man. It's the diet. And y'all spending thousands of dollars on these doctors. Go and get them money to give you liposuction just to have to do it again in 2 years because it is. And it ain't healthy to do it more than once from what I understand, though. I don't know much about that. But it's one of those situations where it's like I just want to encourage people to work on the mind. It started for me. Every time I went to do anything in regards to getting in shape. When I was a heavy person, back when I was a kid and I made the decision, I wanted to not be like that. The first thing I did was went into my spirit and my mind. I was like, I'm going to make a commitment, and God, I want you to help me do that. I'm going to jog every day with these bad eating habits because I didn't know nothing about that back then, but I'm going to jog every day until I see what I want to see. Until I see what I want to see. I don't care about how long it takes. I don't care about days off. I don't care if I got drunk the last night. I'm going to run until I see what I want to see. There were nights where I was drunk running. I'm not talking about hungover. No, I was still drunk, but I was that dedicated. I remember one night, it was 2:30 in the morning. Now, mind you, that's not something I would do everywhere, but in that neighborhood, it was safe, quote unquote, even though LA ain't never safe now, but that was years ago, like 10 years ago. I went outside, drunk, jogged, sped ran. It wasn't jogging, I was speeding, because at that point, I had been jogging for a year, so I was running. For about 25 minutes, 2:30 in the morning, pissy drunk. I didn't care because that was a dedication. I felt that good, I was going to do it. And so when you get yourself to that point where you're, what I call my stem, which is the mindset that gets you up to move, whether you feel good, don't feel good, it establishes the habit and dedicates yourself until that habit becomes a second nature. That's what needs to be focused on, in my opinion. That's where I got the most dedication from, is first making a commitment to God, that I was going to continue to work for myself and for Him. And that allowed me each and every time I did that to stick with it. Because any other time, for me personally, it never worked. My psychology, I just couldn't keep up with it. With the way I like to eat, I didn't keep up with it. With my habits, and I was used to being heavy and used to doing the things that heavy people do, I couldn't keep up with it. But if I told myself I was doing it for God, I never waver. And so I was running back in the day for God when I was doing that. I mean, it was like, you're powering it. And as I've gotten older and made different commitments to my fitness, it all starts with Him. As I told you guys about that push-up bathroom kind of thing, I'm still doing that. Every single time I go to the bathroom, I do push-ups. Every single time. It's not because I'm trying to get my chest in order. It's because I made a promise to God that I would do it. And as I told you guys, when I was sitting in a depressive state of my mind, my body was all out of whack at the beginning of the year last year. My mind was depressed. And I heard a voice in my head that said, why don't you just give me a few push-ups? Why don't you just give me a few push-ups? And I heard it in my head, I'm like, what the hell? I'm sitting here sad. I'm thinking about all these different things, but doing fitness, but getting my body in order. And that was the beginning of a process that I have yet to stop. And I heard that voice. I said, all right, fine. And I gave myself about 10. And as I was doing those 10, he said, now every time you come in here to use the restroom, I'm going to ask you to do the same thing until it's no longer necessary for me to ask you to do it. And so that's what happened. Every time I come in there, it's do some push-ups. Don't forget, get back in there, do some push-ups. And when I would forget, before I get in the bed or whatever it was I was doing, I'd come in here and finish up my process. You forgot 10, you forgot 15, you forgot 20. Now, every time I go in there, I do a different number. Some days, and this is true, some days it was so my stem was so lazy that I could only bring myself to do 1 push-ups. Like, bro, I don't want to do nothing. Fine, to get down there and get in the stance and get up, because that would count. But you must tell your stem that your intentions is to not stop this, regardless of how many you do. Now, sometimes you may get down here and give 5. Some days you may get down here 20. Some days you might get down here and give me 55, 60, which I did yesterday without any problem, because that's how much I've worked up over the last year plus trying to do this. It was hard. The days, some of them sucked. Some of the days I just didn't have nothing in my chest. And then over time, it became not a chore. Then I found myself getting on the floor by instinct after I finished flushing the toilet. It's almost like I go to the ground when I flush the toilet. It's second nature at this point. Even at my friend's house, when I was helping him move, I found myself doing the same thing. I'm at this man's house doing push-ups on the floor in his bathroom because it's just second nature. And you do it for God, it ain't a chore no more. And so that's what it is now. It's like, all right, I'm seeing the results in my chest that I've wanted all my life. This is the dedication I've always wanted. And I haven't been intent on doing anything but just keeping something up that had nothing really to do with what it is I was looking to do. I was just listening to the voice in my head and following it. And allowing it to guide me to a tendency, to a habit that would allow me to be healthier going forward than what my habits may want to fluctuate up and down being. Some days I want to work out and squat hard. Some days I don't. Some days I feel like I got it. Some days I'm so sore or whatever because I've worked out so much. It ain't nothing I want to do. But one thing's for certain. When I go to that restroom, my habit's going to have me doing push-ups regardless. My habit's going to make it so that at least that is getting work every day. All day. And so it's like, these are the things that I think actually cater to people actually getting the results that they want. It's the commitment, it's the dedication, it's whatever drives the inner spirit to it is what needs to be on autopilot. Then you ain't got to pay no doctor $250,000 or whatever to get your body done every 2 years. That can be saved in your pocket, and you will still look the same way you want to look, and you will be less likely to ever deviate from those habits for too long. That's another thing. That muscle memory is a real thing. Once you put it in your heart that you want to do something, if you step away for it from a time, it won't be as difficult to start that process once again as it was the first time. You will be able to do it again, I believe. Now, obviously, there are special circumstances, of course. But we're talking about people who have the ability to be able to be just as physically okay as they were yesterday. You can do it. And that's what I've learned. You can do it once you start the commitment of wanting to do it. And here's the thing, also. I gave myself passes sometimes. There was a rule that I made in regards to them push-ups. If it's after 2 a.m. and I'm half asleep, I ain't doing no push-ups. You see what I'm saying? And I ran that past the Holy Spirit, so to speak. I prayed about it. I'm like, look, some nights I'm just not going to feel like interrupting my sleepwalk, so to speak. Okay, then you don't. And then, several months after I started thinking like that, I'd find myself going there at 2 a.m. and then finding myself on the floor doing push-ups anyway. Because the second nature became even more second nature, and I no longer desired to not do it at 2 a.m. because it became even easier to do it at any time. You see what I'm saying? So even that starts to work itself away. Those commitments that you have to not do it to help yourself, you're going to stop having those commitments too once the consistency comes about. If you're doing it for the right reason. So this is what I'm trying to get people to understand, man. Save your money. Save your money and strengthen your stem. That's the point. Strengthen the stem. Don't give yourself any passes to keep yourself weak in that part, because that's what really is starting the process of whatever else trickles down to your body. It starts with your mind. Stress can cause ulcers and all kinds of stuff. So good affirmations probably does the opposite. It has to do the opposite. It has to give you something. And you continue to work out, sweat a little bit, eat good, tell yourself positive things, continue to make those commitments to yourself or your higher power to do what it is that you got to do to make yourself as healthy as you need to be and to keep money out of people's hands that don't mean you no good. Yeah, you for sure are going to find the habits within yourself over time that make that real. And that's what I want for everybody who follows me, man. If you don't already have that in your life, let's stop the culture of letting people extract us from what otherwise would make us strong if it wasn't in place. That's what I'm here to say. There's a lot of things that we go through in life, stresses and things of that nature. We don't know how we can condition ourselves to be stronger in other areas so that we will be overall stronger people. This is one of those areas. We keep on giving ourselves passes in regards to the food that we eat and the fitness that we're willing to put in and what we want to do to look a certain way. You're not getting stronger. You're not getting more discipline in regards to what you eat. You're not getting more discipline in regards to how you feel about yourself and working on your esteem. You're taking steps that allow you to cut corners to get consequences that you want, which is not going to help you in any other area of life. So you can't throw money at everything and get results you're looking for. You got to get the discipline in heart so that you can be a master of what it is you're trying to accomplish. The doctor that you're paying had to do a bunch of surgeries to get very, very good at what he's doing. So you need to do a bunch of workouts to do what you need to do to keep from paying him. That's real. Yes, I'm taking money out of surgeons' pockets. Why? Because they're not supposed to be there in regards to that. That's a culture faux pas. It shouldn't be there. Unless people want to look a certain way, which is fine. No different than tattoo artists adding different things to people or whatever. But if you're trying to look just healthy and you desire to be healthy and you wish you had the stem of mind, that's something you have to initiate in yourself. That's something you have to want for yourself. And I can't make you love your body, man. I can't make you love your body. If you have a great body, you have great genetics, you have this, that, and the third, that's cool. But there's nothing in what I'm saying that's going to make you love your body if you want to be taller, longer arms, or whatever. It doesn't work like that. But what I can tell you is I've learned that a lot of the stuff that clouded my esteem about myself, a lot of that stuff also was correlated to how I was eating and how I was treating myself. So while I'm in that space of not being healthy but wanting to be healthy, not being disciplined but wanting to be disciplined, I was more likely to choose stuff that didn't necessarily make me better because I'm not as sharp. They correlate. Just like I tell you guys about that list, the people I pray for, you keep praying and praying and praying, it gives you a better memory. It's not just about all of the different things that cater to me being better for praying. It also just strengthens my brain because I'm not forgetting 170 names. You see what I'm saying? These are the type of things. It's like, yo, I know this works. And I know that if we continue to stay weak, it's gonna affect your decision making because I've lived through it. How you view yourself, you eat bad foods, greasy, bad, sugar. You look in the mirror, you don't feel happy, you're not thinking clearly. It's not as much oxygen in your brain. You're not breathing as well. It's all of these different things cater to your esteem and your decision making. And when you cut corners, you're walking down a path where that decision making doesn't get any better. When you take these type of corners and you give yourself anything but strength of the stem, you best believe your stem is getting weaker because of it, more dependent on those crutches because of it, no different than any other area of life. So that's what I'm teaching people as I continue to not be 100% healthy because I still got things I need to work on, including not smoking as much and finding ways to be more productive, how to handle my stress so that I don't need certain things that doesn't make me as healthy. But this is an ongoing process. We got to undo the things that we think are culture, that we think are good for us, so that we can get to the healthiest pace we can be. Why does this matter so much? Because I believe a lot of us are going to be parents. And I believe a lot of the habits that we have in regards to how we handle ourselves and our stem, the decisions to go toward our stem instead of cutting corners, does trickle down to our kids no different than any other traits that we have. My mama didn't drink, my daddy didn't drink, so I'm not an alcoholic. You understand what I'm saying? My mama didn't drink coffee, my daddy didn't drink coffee, so I have no interest in bringing coffee in my system every day. And I don't think there's a single thing that you don't have in your body that you don't carry traits to your child. It is one of the reasons why I do so much working out now, is because I'm trying to get rid of that genetic trait that was in me that allowed me to be so very unhealthy comfortably. The child whose DNA would allow him to eat an entire tub of red vines, I got to offset that with new habits so that I don't pass that to my children. It's real. Even though I don't know that science tells you that it's real, I see it. The pairings all over my life. These things are real. My mother was a writer. My mother was a broadcaster. My mother was someone who worked in the music place. All of these things are traits that I have. All of them. You know what I'm saying? My mother had creative ways. I took those traits. She applied those traits when she was younger to herself. Those traits carried into her son. I'm telling you, stuff is real. So what I know is if I start the process of new traits, I can do that. I was thinking about players, random players, basketball players, hearing about their dads playing basketball and then their kids playing basketball. You know, they chose to play basketball. Somebody in their family chose to play basketball, and as a result, they developed a trait, and that trait went into their child. If homie never picks up a basketball, the likelihood of his kid becoming a basketball player is null. But since he did pick up a basketball and gave himself so much of that time and effort in his DNA, everything that sparked him was put into that game. Now some of those natural traits, some of those natural tendencies, some of that natural rhythm that comes from being on the court, running around all that time in your life, putting so much of your stem and your mind and your spirit into what it is you were doing, that goes straight into the DNA, it goes straight into your kids, it goes straight into the tendencies that they're going to carry forth. You're doing those things while they're swimming in you, so to speak. And I'm telling you, we carry forth. If you're going to be an alcoholic, your kid's going to be an alcoholic. If you're going to be a workout warrior, your kid's going to have better workout habits. If you're going to eat well, your kid's probably going to be more likely to want to go toward good foods. If you're going to smoke cigarettes, your kids are more likely to be susceptible to cigarettes. You understand? If you do drugs, if you do heavy drugs, there's a good chance if your kid takes the wrong heavy drug, they're going to trip out and be crazy forever. I've seen it. This ain't no hearsay. This is stuff I've been through my life. Seen it in other people. So these are things like, look, when I see that and I understand that, it's like, okay, I don't have no kids yet. I got some terrible habits in my young teens and my 20s. These 30s, I got to reset my entire DNA. STEM work, workout, prayer, art, all the things I want my kid to be able to do. Basketball, genius, whatever it is, I got to learn the sport. I got to throw myself into it. That way, my son or my daughter, they're going to have some inclination of some type of sport. Maybe they don't play basketball, but they're going to have sport in them. You understand what I'm saying? My grandfather played sports. My grandfather played basketball. My grandfather played football. My grandfather was a drill sergeant. Y'all see how I am in this phone talking about y'all must win, dominate, get it right, da-da-da. He was a drill sergeant. That's in me. Trait his, passed his grandson. I'm telling you, these traits, I'm telling you. So because I understand these things, you can capture this understanding. Boom. All right, I know this. How do I put said trait in my kid? Well, I can't actually pass those traits, but what I can do is a roundabout way start becoming the person I want them to be. You know, treat people poorly and use people, all that stuff. Your kids are going to pick up either those traits or the inverted trait that makes them hate you for doing that. That's what ends up happening to a lot of people, because they don't understand the bad that they do has a reaction to it. Just like the good that you do has a reaction to it, the bad that you do does as well. And believe you me, you engage in the wrong energy. If you're not passing that energy to your kid, you're passing on the resentment that comes from the energy itself. Things I inherently understand. So it's like, yo, I want people to understand what I say in this regard. I don't have any kids, so I'm not no expert in any of this. But what I do know is because I don't have any kids, I can start the process of gaining these traits, putting them in there and seeing what happens. And if my kids don't catch them on, cool. It wouldn't have been that kid. It would have been another kid. I just didn't have enough kids. Either way, them traits are there. That's the bottom line. The traits are there. And what you're practicing, what you're praying, what you're doing, all the different energies you're putting out, your generational curses, all that bad stuff you're doing, you're getting away with, listen, it all goes into your kid. All of it. If it don't go into that one, it'll go into that one. If it go into that one, it'll go into that one. I'm telling you, it's going in your kids. And what they do is going into their kids. So let's start the process of continuing to respect our stem. Because the stem's not just your mind, it's the mind of what it is that you carry forth. It's all of them, your family tree. Stem. Same thing. Starts here. What sparks your mind and your consciousness, and what puts you in a position to feel as if you can, and then you will. And if you believe in a higher power, it's even easier, because your conscience will guide you, or your consciousness will not. BDF 44. Thank you all for watching.